Good morning, Boker Tov. Welcome back to Living with Emunah. I want to thank our generous Emunah series sponsors, Avi and Bella Morgan, in memory of Rabbi Dr. Brian Galbert, in memory of Bella's mother, Dr. Ellen Shanzer. Very grateful, as always, for their generosity and for their sponsorship. As always, we're going to begin with some Emunah stories, Emunah emails, and then we'll dive back into the text that we are learning, Emunah-building, Rav David Abu Chatzeira. So grateful you are here with us, a lot of guests visiting. Thank you for waking up early, spending your morning with us, braving the elements in Florida, the cold, the frigid cold, the snow, northern Florida, the winter coats, the Uggs. It's amazing to see. Okay, L'choda by Goldberg. I have the greatest Emunah email to share for 3 reasons, writes the author. Number 1, it happened in a car. Number 2, the circumstance was completely mundane and uneventful. And number 3, there was no spectacular outcome. My type of story. Having said that, here goes. Last week I was running late but managed to get out of the house, drop my son off at school, head to work. In a bit of a frenzy, I made the 15-minute drive to work. Just as I turned into the parking lot, for some unknown reason, I decided to glance in the mirror. To my horror, I noticed I was wearing my band fall without my hairband. If they're men, listen, I have a wife and 6 daughters. I'll explain the email. I'll explain to you what that means. The mirror revealed back to me a shock of white hair sticking out from in front of my brown fall. Imagine what I see when I look in the mirror. The more mature women in the shir would understand, she writes. Instead of losing my cool, I looked up at my dashboard. Imagine I had a Emunah sticker. I'm always where I need to be. I made a U-turn, returned back home, grabbed the proper head guard, but was 30 minutes out of my way to drive there. But the Emunah muscles have been strengthened thanks to the Rav's shir. So, in those moments, I had an Emunah moment. I don't want to embarrass anyone. I won't say who it was. I'm related to them by marriage, my own. But I was traveling this week, and a total amateur moment, somebody left a bottle of water in their pocketbook at TSA. It's an amateur move, amateur moment. I'm not saying who it was. I don't want to embarrass them. But as the TSA agent took it, that person to whom I'm related to by marriage said, "We are where we're meant to be." So it is coming back to bite me. We are where you're meant to be. Anyway.
I'll be using that a lot.
Yes. Your dry cleaning is where it's meant to be. Anyway, dinner is where it's meant to be. Okay. We have to be careful. We have to be careful how much we use it. Rabbi Goldberg, hope this email finds you well. I want to first thank you all. Blah, 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 blah. When I was in Miluim in the beginning of the war, and I'm reading this not to toot my own horn, I'm reading it because it is a reminder. It was a reminder to me when I read it, how important it is to make these gestures. The person writes, I want to thank you all you do. Not sure if you remember when I was in Miluim in the beginning of the war, you offered to come and meet me where I was stationed around Efrat. Unfortunately, the timing didn't work out, but I remember well the message you sent me, which gave me a lot of chizuk during that time. Again, I read that only because it should remind all of us. You have family, you have friends, you have former neighbors. They're in the heart of it. Their children are on the battlefield. They're not home. They're in the army. Take a moment, send a text, make a phone call. It means the world. It means the world. I want to thank you for living with Emunah. A few years ago, and I was just starting Kolal while I was enjoying delving into Shas and Poskim all day long. I felt dry and if something was missing. Someone suggested Yoshirim on Simcha through Rav Vicha Meyer and Yam B'Derachecha, which were just the injection of sweet Torah I needed to combine with my learning. And it's been a huge part of my growth for me and my wife and our whole family ever since then. I love about this email is the first paragraph is when I was in Miluim, when I was fighting. And the next paragraph is when I was in Kolel and I was learning Shas Poskim, and there's no contradiction and there's no hefsek, there's no break between the two. There's a Kolel young man, married, learning Shas Poskim, who in a moment that was called when I was in Miluim, when I was in war. I also truly believe that the weekly chizuk and mindfulness on Emunah, Yeshir, and Mavok prepared me for this war, which for our family meant hundreds of days with me in Miluim, with my wife at home, with our baby son alone with little help, and entering, eventually being zocha to myself to be part of the war in Lebanon. In moments of imminent danger in my life, I was able to trust in Hashem with no fear, due to the Torah that we teach each week, so truly thank you. Sorry for the long intro, here's the story. A few weeks ago, I took our car for its routinely yearly inspection. We knew there was a small issue with the headlight that needed to be fixed, but we hoped this would be a routine check with no additional costs. Unfortunately, the dealership called me to tell me the car failed the test and it would need to be fixed. While this was disappointing, we recognized it's from Hashem, it's for the best. A few hours later, they called me again to tell me they opened up the car and saw the entire brake system needed to be replaced and it would be another expensive charge. The sum total ended up being a lot of money that we had to pay unexpectedly. This was not great news to hear as a young family, with myself being in learning, teaching. We Baruch Hashem everything we need, but this was out of the blue, a huge sum of money threw a big monkey wrench in our monthly budget. And then I realized something incredible. A week ago, my grandma called me randomly out of the blue to tell me that she was sending us money for our car insurance. I was completely confused why she felt the need to do this. We'd never discussed this before, but she insisted on helping us and sending money for this specific reason. In the moment, I just thought this was her being caring and quirky self. Then I popped in the dollar sum she sent us, and there it was, almost the exact amount we had to pay for the cost of our car. Wow, Hashem is the best. This was a true wink from him. Our mazonos are set out from the beginning of the year by Hashem. Was a real live example of this. Hashem always has our back in the big life challenges and even in the small ones too. He should be safe and well and home with his family, and steiging and learning and growing and writing beautiful emails like that. My name is such and such. I made Aliyah with my family 2.5 years ago from such and such. Love the shirim, yada yada, blah blah blah. I've taken a very important lesson from a theme I see in the shirs. The idea that I can talk to Hashem whenever and wherever I am. I do not have to be davening shul or in a base medrash to speak to Hashem. Because of the shirim, I have a conversation with Hashem outside of shul at least once a day. I noticed that between work, carpool, and errands, I was finding it difficult to speak to Hashem and ask him for the big and small things and just talk. It was very interesting to note I had an easier time doing errands for an hour than to just sit down and have a conversation with Hashem. So, every day at 9:50 a.m., I have a reminder in my phone called TTH, Talk to Hashem. If I cannot get to it then, I do not get rid of the reminder until I speak to Hashem. I've seen the magnificent results of this already, as I am now conversing with Hashem much more during my day, when things go well and when they do not go so well. So thank you. Keep up the amazing work. TTH, put a reminder in the phone, make time, schedule time, otherwise it won't happen. Hi, Rabbi. I'm a college student living in Boca. I recently ended a relationship. Even though I know it's for the best, it's been hard. I decided to dedicate this time off dating to work on myself and specifically my Emunah. Shir has been a big part. This morning I rushed out of my house to make sure I got on time to work. Turns out I had more than enough time, so I decided to stop for coffee. I figured I was just running in and out. I didn't even look if I was parking and I needed to pay for it or anything. Turns out it was. As I'm walking out of Starbucks, I see parking enforcement right in front of my car. I obviously got nervous, got a ticket, thinking I was getting a ticket, but I thought to myself, if I did, it's my fault. I'll pay for it. Then I got to my car and saw luckily I had gotten there at the exact moment before they started doing parking enforcement. I immediately thought of this as a huge hug from Hashem. Prior to listening to the shir, I would have immediately thought, thank God in that moment, then I would just moved on. Now I'm thinking of it as a real Emunah strengthener and trying to think of all the moments in life as moments to acknowledge Hashem is putting me where I need to be. It's very much helped me moving beyond the end of my relationship and looking forward to the future. Should be zoche to a big simcha, bekarov, soon. Should dance at the wedding. Okay, maybe one more. Again, Baruch Hashem, I'm so grateful to everyone who writes in. Keep writing. I read them all. They touch me all. They mean, they inspire a lot. I just can't read them all, at least each week. We have to do it over time. They are really great. All right, here's one. My name is such and I live in such and such a place. I've heard about you from my bubby. I get that a lot. I go everywhere and people say, do you know my grandparents? They live in Boca. Anyway, I heard about you from my bubby. That's my demographic, the bubbies. I heard about you from my bubby who lived my story. I just made a bar mitzvah of my son who's named after my father. My mother's also not alive. The week after, I was just having all sorts of feelings and wasn't doing well. I decided I need to listen to some Emunah shir. I went onto Spotify and simply typed in Emunah, and your name came up. I only knew of you from my bubby, which is why I started listening to you. I started with the most recent shirim, and then I had a question which was really bothering me. I know with Emunah we're supposed to let go and let God, and there are certain things in life I really want right now, but I decided I'm going to trust Hashem has a plan for me and will give me what I want in the right time. But we're also supposed to daven and ask him for what we want. So that sounds like a contradiction. Let go and let Hashem take control, but at the same time we're asking Hashem for what we want. So why are we davening and asking for something he knows is not necessarily good for us, asking him to change his mind? This past Friday, as I was cooking for Shabbos, it was quiet in the house, and decided to start listening to your shirim from the first one. In part 3 or 4, I got my answer. I couldn't believe it. The answer you gave was that when we daven, we ask Hashem to help us change our perspective, try to understand and accept. So not the most amazing Emunah story for me. It was what I needed. Your shirim, keep going. Thank you for the time in reading this long email, which is not a long email. You should see some of the emails. That was not a long one, but a beautiful one. And maybe we'll address that question again because part 3 or 4 was a very long time ago. I'm working on, if anyone knows how to do this here, or you're watching and you could email me, if AI could index the Emunah shirim so that we'd be able to look back and say, we talked about this in that shir, and people can find what they want or need or are interested in hearing, that'd be a huge help. I'm not listening to all of them again, but if AI would, that'd be a huge help. So supposedly it has the ability to index. Okay, one more. Before I start, I want to thank Hashem for the inside, blah, 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 blah. I visit my old friend downtown Miami on a Thursday. I tell him I need to leave early because I know there'll be traffic. I said my goodbyes and leave at 3:30 and put on your shir. See on Google Maps, it's going to take me exactly 1 hour to get home. 17 miles. GPS tells me to take 441 all the way to Miami Gardens and then get on 95 from there. I put on your shir and head out. Now I'm someone with an excellent sense of direction, but we've all tried to beat Google Maps or Waze. Am I right? Before I'm supposed to make a right to get onto 95, I see a 95 express sign, so I head that way. I see express south in the right lane. With the left lane, I see nothing. So I take that hoping it goes north. Well, joke's on me. Both lanes end up going south. If anyone's been south of 163rd Street in the express lanes, you know there's no exit until Miami Airport. I was now heading in the opposite direction of my house, and the GPS changed from 20 minutes to 53 minutes, and I just drove for 40 minutes. Oy vey. My wife returned me onto the podcast, can tell you I hate traffic, I hate making mistakes when driving. My initial reaction was to scream at myself and curse, but then I stopped and thought, why did I make this mistake? Rabbi Goldberg told me anything, it's that I'm here for a reason. Well, 2 minutes before I made that wrong turn, I switched from your shir to listen to Drake. I quickly realized that Hashem was hinting at me I need an Emunah workout. I quickly switched back to your shir and enjoyed the rest of my car ride home. Without this mentality, I would have been in a bad mood the rest of the day, and my wife, who may hear this if you read it, would have to deal with my attitude the rest of the evening and would agree is exactly what would have happened. With Emunah, this was avoided. Thank you, Hashem, for my new mentality in life. Thank you again for all you do. Thank Hashem for giving the koach to do it. And Drake, if you're listening, I'm sorry I took him away from you. Okay. All right. There's a lot more, but we'll stop there. They're all inspiring. But I want to come back to that question. If Hashem knows what's best for us and does what's best for us, then why would we try to get him to change his mind? Why would we daven and ask him? If we're meant to not have parnasa, we're meant to be single, we're meant to be barren, we're meant to Khalila be sick, we're meant to any of the things that we daven to change, he's omnipotent, he's infinite, he's perfect, he knows what's best for us. Why are we asking him to do what's less best for us, less perfect for us, and do what we think from our finite, imperfect, limited perspective? We did discuss this in the past, but just a quick reminder, and then we'll get back into this. It's an age-old question, and many examine it. And the Akedah, Yitzchak, and others bring the following answer in perspective. Davening is not just appealing or asking or begging or groveling to Hashem. Davening is not trying to change Hashem's mind. Davening is changing us. And when we change us, we're deserving of a new what's best for us. So the best for us before we daven might be whatever circumstance, whatever place, whatever problem, whatever struggle we're in. That was a wake-up call that stimulated and motivated. It was the catalyst to get us to daven, to change, to think, to grow, to be. So we mentioned here or in London, I don't remember. But if you ask people to put up their hand, you say, how many people went through a wonderful experience, a great simcha, a beautiful outcome, and it radically changed their lives? Very few, if any, hands go up. Ask people, how many have gone through a challenging time, a really challenging, difficult circumstance, and they had to dig deep and grow and persevere and be resilient and tenacious and came out a stronger, better, different. Doesn't mean they're grateful that it happened. They still wish it hadn't, but they came out a different person. And when you ask that, many, if not almost every hand in the room goes up. So which is the catalyst, the stimulus for growth? Not when everything goes smoothly and well and hunky-dory. It's when we go through challenges. It's when we confront friction. It's when we have to overcome obstacles that we dig deep and we find power and capacity and potential often we never knew we had. We never knew we had. And part of that overcoming the adversity, part of that fighting through those obstacles is digging deep to daven, sincerely and authentically, to recognize, to surrender, to submit, and to turn to Hashem, that we need him, we need his help, and we can't do it without him, to the higher power. And when we do, we're different, we're changed, we're transformed. So who we were before we daven is meant to be radically different from who we are after. We come home from shul, our spouse should say to us, I don't recognize you, something's different. We say, I just daven chakras. Yeah, but something's different. And the spouse should come home and say to the spouse at home, I don't recognize you. Yeah, I just said my tehillim. Yeah, but something's totally different. Yeah, I'm now calm, tranquil, serene. I trust in Hashem. I've let go. I've let God. I recognize whatever we're going through, wherever I am, we're not stuck. We're not lost. It's for a reason. That changes us. And when we're changed and when we're different, now we're deserving of Hashem bringing a new perspective on us. If we change our perspective on Him, He'll change His perspective on us. So davening is not an exercise in changing His mind. Davening is an attempt and an exercise to change ourselves. Now, why is that so important? It's important for theological, philosophical reasons. It's important and critical to understand because we need to know what we're doing and meant to be doing when we do it. Hashem is immutable. He's unchangeable. He's permanent. He's omnipotent. He's infinite. He's everything. So the notion that we're going to change Him or change His mind or persuade Him, convince Him, it's not who He is. It's not what we're doing. What we're doing is changing ourselves by talking to Him. It's important. But it's also important because it changes what we bring to the experience of davening. We're not just mumbling a bunch of words so that we can put a check mark next to the siddur or the tehillim. We're not putting the dishes in the sink or straightening up or folding our talis or doing hand signals to have a conversation while we're in the middle of talking to Hashem. Because I just need to turn the pages and say I'm done. That's not what davening is. Any more than you're on date night and you're meant to be spending time with your spouse, with your child, with your friend, and you're totally absent present. You're utterly distracted. You're not even involved, engaged. You're not sincere in the conversation. You're not changed by it. Have you gone for coffee with a friend where you thought it was going to be casual, pedestrian, you're going to talk about everyday stuff, but you ended up walking away a changed person? You say, wow, that was deep, that was powerful, that was exactly what I needed. Every conversation with Hashem should be those moments with the best friend. TTH, 9:50 a.m., talk to Hashem. Not just from the siddur, but in life. In life. On this trip, had several meetings, working on our campus. Believe me, there's a lot of conversations with Hashem. What He wants, from whom He wants, what to say, afterwards, how it went. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of TTH going on with that activity. And with any activity and any goal, any dream, any ambition, any aim that we have in life, talk to Hashem and it changes us. And you go from just like somebody I'm related to by marriage, in that moment that I was about to be frustrated because I don't like amateur travel hour, and she caught it right away, and before the pulse or blood pressure went up, and before the reaction came out, she said the reminder, which was exactly what was needed. And we had plenty of time, so it wasn't an issue. But where we're meant to be, the water bottle's where it's meant to be. Kadosh Baruch Hu is talking to us. Each act of davening is Hashem echoing in our ear, saying, relax, I've got your back, I'm with you. And there are big things in life that it's not so simple to walk away and say, oh, and now I'm relaxed. No, there are things that we cry and things that we grieve. And we said this recently in a shiur, and I got several emails from people who were grateful we said it, that being sad is not a contradiction to having emunah. Grieving at a loss is not a contradiction to having emunah. You know, the Shulchan Aruch records, based on the Gemara, that the same way that one visits a mourner and says, Hamakom Yanachem Eschem, may God comfort you. If someone sustained a great loss, if you know anyone in LA, they could probably use a text or a phone call and a check-in. But if you know anyone in LA whose house was lost, possessions, everything they ever owned, say, Hamakom Yanachem Eschem. The Shulchan Aruch says, one says to them the same words that we say to a mourner, may God comfort you. You don't call them and say, your possessions are where they're meant to be. Up in flames, gone forever. Your picture albums, your antiques, your heirlooms, they're gone. But have emunah. It was from Hashem. You weren't meant to have that house. Don't make that phone call. If that's what you're planning on saying, don't dial the number. That is not the message. The message is Hamakom Yanachem Eschem. We don't know why. I'm sure Hashem has a reason. Please God, you can come out stronger and bigger and better. But I know this hurts, and it's hurting me with you. Imo anochi b'tzara, nosei ba'olam chavero. I'm with you. I'm feeling this pain. I'm here to help. Hamakom Yanachem. May Hashem help you, overcome you. You have the strength to endure the sadness you must be feeling. You appropriately are feeling. Sadness is not a contradiction. Grief is not a contradiction. Now, if you are exceedingly sad because you had slow Wi-Fi on your flight, if you're so sad because they ran out of green currant in the supermarket, then that's not an appropriate sadness. That's not a time. You don't say Hamakom Yenachim Eschem. I heard that your phone battery died. Hamakom Yenachim Eschem. You don't say Hamakom Yenachim Eschem because the laptop died. That is not an appropriate Hamakom Yenachim. But the davening is not an experience of changing God, it's an experience of changing ourselves. And if we walked out of a tefillah, of an experience, of a conversation with Hashem, and we're unchanged, then we need to rethink and revisit how we daven, because that's what it's meant to do. To change us, not Him. And when we're changed, we're deserving of a new outcome. Have you not had a child misbehaves, and the child is punished? Is punished. And the child deserves that punishment. But the child now comes and makes an appeal. And not some, I'm sorry, they don't even know what they're sorry for. They're just saying they're sorry because they want their device back kind of sorry. But they have a conversation with you which makes you feel they get it. They genuinely feel bad about the way they spoke to you. They get it. It hurt them that they hurt you. And they feel bad and they want to make it right. And all you want to do is hug them and kiss them and say, no problem, come out of your room. Here's your device back. What happened? Parenting experts will tell you that don't bluff. If you're not going to follow through, it's the worst kind of parenting. And I think the answer is, you're right. If the child hasn't changed, then you can't change from the accountability or the consequence you were holding them to. But the child went into the room and thought about it and came back a different person, and that was clear and convincing in the way they communicated. Now they deserve a new outcome. And Hashem treats us exactly the same. Who we are brings about a certain what's right for us. But if we change who we are, we ask Him to rethink what is the best outcome for us, and that is the process of tefillah. Emunah-building, page Yud Gimel, page 13, Rav David Avuchatzera, we're on the left-hand column. Dargos Rabos Yesh Lo LeEmunah. There are many levels to Emunah. We gave away most of, not all of, our caffeinate with Kavana cups. We're going to order more. Today's giveaway, turn the page, our notebooks. We made these Moda'ani. Thank you, Hashem, for a new day. Every day is a bright new day and a new beginning and a fresh start. Whatever baggage and pekalachim we had yesterday, leave it behind. Turn the page, a new day. So whatever notes, whatever journal, whatever diary, whatever you want to stick in your kid's backpack or your husband's briefcase, whatever note, rip it out of this, turn the page. Every day, start the day, Moda'ani. Moda'ani, grateful am I. Rabbi Emunah, you have faith in me, Hashem. Moda'ani, grateful am I, you gave me a new day. Every minute's a new minute, every hour is a new hour, every day is a new day, every week is a new vach, a new week. Every chodesh is a Rosh Chodesh, a new month. Every year is a Rosh Hashanah, a new year. Judaism is all about new beginnings and fresh starts and reboot and new versions. And whatever year version you're up to of you. And it's always fresh starts. So that's why we produce these. Moda'ani, thank you Hashem for a new day. Turn the page. Don't get stuck in yesterday. Don't perseverate. Don't get stuck. Rishoyim Maleim Charata. Being stuck in the past, being stuck on the previous page is wickedness, is Rishoyim, is Rishus. Rishoyim are Maleim Charata. We learned here in Rav David Avuchatzera. Rishoyim are Maleim Charata. We're not stuck in the past. We're not stuck with regret and remorse. We are not living then, but we're living in the present. It's a new page every day. So you got here a bin. Feel free to take one if you'd like to make a donation. Shul could always use it. So feel free to make a donation. But even if you don't take one, give it a gift, keep it for yourself. Dargas Rabbos Yesh Lo LeEmunah. There are many levels to Emunah until we fill our lives and our lifestyle. It's different than any other mitzvah there is. Every other mitzvah you discharge and you're done. You put on your tefillin, you're done for the day. You shook the lulav and esrog, you're done for the day. You lit the Shabbos candles, enjoy the Shabbos meal, you're done for the day. Other mitzvahs are an act, a one time. You do them, you're done. Emunah is not a mitzvah in the classic sense of you do it and you're done. Emunah is, that's like saying marriage is, I gave the ring, I said Harayat Mekudeshesli, and I'm done. You're never done. Now you're just beginning. Now that you're married, it is a state of being. It is an identity. It is a lifestyle. It is a perspective. It is a feeling. That's what marriage, that's what love, that's what life are. Not, I'm done. I told you the old joke or the old story. Halavai, it was a joke of the young man who got married. And he's now almost a year into marriage. And the wife goes to meet with the Rebbe to complain. You know, he never says, I love you. He never says, I love you. So the Rebbe meets with him and he says, you're not affectionate, verbally affectionate. Do you ever tell your wife what you feel about her? You ever say, I love you? So the Skola guy, Lamdan, thinks to her a second. He says, I said I love you on the wedding night and I wasn't mevatel it. I never canceled the notified it. Why do I have to say it again? He applied his lamdus. I said it once and I didn't cancel it. So why do I have to repeat it? Marriage is not lamdus. It's life, it's love. It's a way of being. It's a state of mind. It's a perspective. It's a feeling that fills your heart. It's an identity. It's an awareness that you're always carrying. A healthy, loving, beautiful marriage, as you live your day, you're not living it only for yourself. You're living it in mind how you'll share it later. What advice, what support, what love, what nachas or pride you'll give the other. You're already living it not as a person. You're living it together as you'll share it later. If you're married and in love and in a healthy marriage, you never like to go on trips by yourself. You don't want to have to report on it and describe it later. You want to experience everything that there is in life. You want to experience it. You're only whole and experiencing it as a whole when you experience it together. And I'll give you many more examples of a healthy marriage, of an ideal marriage, of the marriage that we aspire to. And even those who have it sometimes don't have it always. And there's always more work to be done. But that's the healthy marriage. There's always this awareness. There's a check-in, there's a text, there's a big for connection. There's a how are you, there's a hey, there's a what's going on, tell me about your day. There's that constant, incomplete without you, you complete me. And my whole day and my life are only complete when we experience it together. And that's what Emunah is with Hashem. There's not, I said Shacharis in the morning, and I'll come back at Mincha, and in between, I went to the gym, and I went to work, and I went for lunch, and I did some shopping, and I'll come back later. That's not a relationship with Hashem. The relationship with Hashem, tonight's by the Bima, I don't know if you listened to last week, it was really worthwhile. It's not too late, it doesn't expire. You can catch up whenever you want. But Rabbi David Aaron of Israelite Oraita was last week, and he speaks to the depths of the neshama and what a real relationship with Hashem is. I told you last week how Judaism needs a rebrand. Judaism is not about fear and guilt and the Holocaust, which is what most people associate. I mentioned this last week. He says, Christianity people think is all about forgiveness and joy and love. And they think that Buddhism is all about spirituality. And Judaism is about guilt and death and dying and anti-Semitism and the Holocaust. When really those things originated in Judaism, and Judaism is the source of all those things, it's well worthwhile to listen. And tonight's Behind the Beam is also well worthwhile. Yaakov Klein, a young man now in London, was in Eretz Yisrael, who was dedicating his life to spreading Panemius at Torah. These notions that we're talking about right now, that Emunah is not about a check mark. Emunah is not, I put on tefillin, I lit the candles, I did the daf, I gave the tzedakah in the pushka, I'm done. Any more than marriage would be, I said good morning, I said I love you, now I went to work, I'm done. And I'll check back in at night, I'll have to repeat those things again, and then we'll do it. No. Just like in marriages, as I go to work, there's a bid for connection, there's a text in the middle of the day for no reason. Hey, thinking about you. Hey, what's going on? Hey, how did that thing go? Hey, I'm experiencing this, wanting to share it with you later. Emunah also is, I'm going into the boardroom, I'm negotiating the deal. Please, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Why not, Hashem? I'm protesting to you, Hashem. It's not a one-time thing. It is, listen to his words, Achatamala Yeshuso, your Yeshus means your existence, Chai of your life, V'halichosav, and your journeys, your derech, your trip, your journey through life. It's your everything. It's your everything. And we find this and we see this in our Torah Kedosha at the splitting of the sea. We said in Davening this morning, we say every day. Hashem saved us on that day. God saw Mitzrayim. The Jewish people, Vaya Yisrael, it's Mitzrayim. Vaya Yisrael, it's Hayar Gdolah. Then they saw God's great hand. Vayiru Amas Hashem. And they saw, they feared Hashem. Vayaminu b'Hashem u'Moshe Avdo. And they believed in God and Moshe, his loyal servant. There's a lot of questions on this. We say it every day, but we never ask. Did we just equate Moshe and God? They had faith in God and Moshe? Whoa, that sounds dangerous, slippery slope. That sounds like other religions. Faith in God and. There's no and. There's faith in God, period, exclamation point, end of sentence, Done. What do you mean, b'Moshe avdo, and in Moshe, his servant? Okay, leave that for a second. But also, what do you mean now? Now standing opposite the sea, now? I love when Emunah and Parsha and Siddur snippets and Smichos, I love when it all comes together. So we're reading Parshas Vayera, we're reading the Makos, we're going to be reading in a couple weeks Kriyas Yamsuf, and before you know it, it's a good thing you're sitting down, it's going to be Pesach. So we're preparing. They didn't have Emunah in Mitzrayim. Only now, standing opposite the sea, only now when it's split and they were able to walk through it. Only now can we say, Vayaminu b'Hashem u'v'Moshe avdo. Only now do they have faith? What do you mean? In what merit were we redeemed from Egypt? It was the Nashim Tzidkanios. It was in the merit of the righteous women. And what did the righteous women help us with? They said, keep calm and carry on at TSA in Mitzrayim. Keep it moving. But what did the righteous women hold on to? Vaya'amein ha'am. No matter what was happening around us, backbreaking labor, the murder of our children, no matter what was going on, they said, keep the faith, there will be a brighter day. This world is yet worth bringing children into. Hashem is going to turn this around. There is a future. So why do we say now, Vayamin? Why only now opposite the sea? We know, even though they sunk to the 49th level of Tumah, even though they were at almost hopeless and helpless, irredeemable, we didn't. We were caught right before we sunk to the lowest level. And what did we hold on to? What was the little we still had? Emunah. Even though we were lost in so many other ways, at least we still knew and believed and felt and came back to Hashem. Im kein ma ba'akos l'amdenu shel achav v'yosh Hashem b'yom hahu, shero Yisrael b'sayim tovim, v'ro asayala gdola, az higiu b'nei Yisrael Emunah b'Hashem Moshe avdo, shenish mizeh sharata lo higiu l'kach. Is the Torah implying that until now they didn't have Emunah? It's only now opposite the sea that they did? What's going on? Asked Rav David Avuchatzera. Why now? Vayaminu b'Hashem uve Moshe avdo. Leave aside the question of the uve Moshe avdo, but why now the Emunah and Hashem, as if until now they didn't have it? Ulam ki yish lomar bebeirum shel dvarim, says the Heilige Rav David Avuchatzera. Ki ba'omek hasagas ha'emunah nimtzaim kama minei midregos. When it comes to Emunah, there are many levels. Emunah rishoni Emunah hamoach. The first level Emunah is the Emunah of the brain, intellectual Emunah, cognitive Emunah, what we learned for so long from Rav Moshe Shapiro Zatzal, what he would call not Emunah, what he would call Emes. We learned the essay, Emes ve'Emunah. Anyone remember? Yes. Thank you so much for your kindness, at least in saying that. I'm going to even go with that, it's true. We learned with Rav Moshe Shapiro's essay, Emes ve'Emunah. Do you remember what he said? Emes, the Emes doesn't need your help. The Emes is that there's a God, He's a creator, He's the first cause, and he doesn't need you to believe in Him to exist. Whether you believe in Him or don't believe in Him, He exists, He runs the world. That's the Emes. That's the Emes. Whether you believe in gravity or not, it will bring you down. Get it? What I did there? Whether you believe in gravity or not, gravity exists. Gravity doesn't need your help to believe in it. There's gravity, believe it or not. That's the Emes. That's the Emes. The world is round, not flat. Believe it or not, that's the Emes. That's the Emes. Hashem exists, that's the Emes. What's Emunah? Emunah is now employing that in your lifestyle, executing that in your life, living a life based on the fact that there's a God. So the first level is Emunah b'moach, intellectual, cognitive, what Rav Moshe Shapiro would call not Emunah, but Emes. Emes. You study the Bible codes. You examine the evidence for God's existence. You analyze intellectually, is there a God? And you conclude yes. L'mala mimeni emunas halev. And then the next level up is Emunah in the heart. And now it's in the heart, so that you filter and experience everything that happens emotionally to you through Emunah. So you're about to rage about the water bottle. I wasn't going to rage. I wasn't going to get angry. I don't get that angry. I don't get angry at all. I try not to. But a person's going to get angry about the water bottle in the bag, and the Emunah, the Lev says, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're meant to have this extra moment. She was meant to forget. We were meant to be together. We were meant to, it's okay. I forgot because I'm the professional traveler. And part of my job on the line at TSA is to say, anyone have liquid in their bag? Take it out. We're not spending time. Do it now. So really it was my fault. I forgot to make the announcement. So MS is, there's a God. But if the MS ends in shul, and the second you walk out, and you go to the boardroom, the operating room, and you go to whatever room, and you forget there's a God, and you lose your cool, you get angry, you get arrogant, you get envious, and you forget there's a God who fears the Welt, who runs the world, then Emunah's only stayed up here, it hasn't filtered to the heart. But if you experience moments of sadness and moments of joy, and moments of frustration, and moments of glee, and it's all filtered through the prism of the heart of Emunah b'Hashem, thank you Hashem, or I need you Hashem, or why Hashem, or where are you Hashem, but it's all experienced with Hashem in a conversation with Hashem. Says Rav David Abu Chatzeira, the distance between the head and the heart is at least the same distance between the heaven and the earth. The farthest two things on this planet, the farthest distance between any two objects on this planet is the distance between our head and our heart. That's why we need Ozempic. I'm not saying that with any judgment. I'm saying that's a reality. That's why we need whatever other tools we need, because we know what's wrong for us to eat. We know when we're full from eating it. We know we shouldn't lash out in anger. We know it's unhealthy to be jealous. We know so much. We have a PhD. We have an advanced degree, graduate degree. We're PhD experts in everything we do wrong. So why do we do it wrong? Why do we do it wrong? I have a PhD in waking up in the morning. Why do I have 17 snoozes? A PhD in eating right. Why do we eat wrong? A PhD in being a loving parent, calm and cool and collect. Why do I blow my cool? Because the distance between the head and the heart is the forever distance. That's why the Torah says that a soldier, Sefer Dvarim, the Torah tells us, a soldier, hasach bein tefillin and tefillin, a soldier who speaks between the hand tefillin and the head tefillin, we send them home from war. Torah doesn't say it. Chazal Darshan, who is the soldier, Zrach Levav, who has Averis Biyado, is the person who speaks between the hand tefillin and we put tefillin on the arm, we put tefillin on the head, and if somebody speaks in between when you're not supposed to interrupt, go home. Go home. That's what you go home for? If you violate Shabbos, you could stay. But if you talk between putting on your tefillin, you got to go home. That's what you go home for? So I once suggested, I later found it in several Sfarim, it means the following. You can't interrupt between the head and the heart, between the head and the hand, because what you know up here has to filter down to what you do. Because if you know something up here, but it doesn't lead to your following the command, we can't have you in our army. If you can't follow the instruction, the direction, the command, if you know things up here, but they don't lead to your doing them here, then you need to go home. So there's Emunah in the head, next level, Emunah in the heart. And after you have the head, and Emunah in the head, intellectual, cognitive, Emunah in the heart, you experience, absorb, filter everything, all emotion through Emunah. Then there's Emunah in all the limbs of the body. The Kaimas Mashakasav, Pasuk in Tehillim, Kol Atzmosai Tomarna, Hashem Michamocha. We say it Nishma Shabbos morning. All of my bones scream out, Hashem, there's no one like you. She'argishu kol evaro she'enod melvado. Ki yedias hamoach v'alev ein be'em dai k'mo she'ron lefamim כשמתרגש על האדם דבר מטה לאימה ואין אמונה עומדת לו להישאר במנוחת הנפש. What does it mean to have emunah in the rest of the limbs of your body? What does that mean? There's no actual emunah muscle that you can measure. It's not a muscle in your body. There's no BMI, body mass index, for emunah. So what does it mean, emunah in the Eivarim? Emunah in the head we understand. Bible codes, evidence of God's existence. It's the MS analyzing intellectually God's existence, the evidence for God's existence. Emunah in the heart, we understand. Whether we're sad or happy, frustrated or flying in life, we experience it all through a conversation, crediting Hashem, surrendering to Hashem, leaning on Hashem. We understand. What does it mean, emunah, in the rest of the limbs of the body? What does that mean? What does that mean? You know what it means? It means if you wore a heart monitor, a biometric monitor, that was monitoring your heartbeat, was monitoring your pulse, your blood pressure, your sweat glands, was monitoring all these biofeedback of the body, you know what it would measure and it would find? Calm and peace. Hishtavus, equanimity. It's all the same to me. Moshe Gersh's book. It would find that in the moment of the highest highs and the lowest lows, externally you have a smile or you have a tear, but internally there's an equilibrium. There's an equanimity. That internally there's an emunah that doesn't get you too in either direction, because you're experiencing it all that it's the hand of Hashem. Kolatz Mosai Tomarna. My whole being is experiencing that this is the will of Hashem. That is how I am responding. That is how I am experiencing. That is what this is all about. It doesn't mean I don't get sad or happy, grieve, or celebrate. Those are appropriate reactions. Imagine you're at your child's wedding and you're sitting on the side with a very still face, and someone walks up to you and says, "What's the matter? Aren't you happy?" And you say, "Well, I went to the Emunah shir and I'm supposed to just be even-keeled, tranquil. So, yes, I'm happy. Can't you tell?" No. Huge smile, ear to ear. Your feet are moving. You can't stop dancing. You're having the time of your life. But inside, you realize that that's from Hashem. He orchestrated this miracle of this marriage. And Khalil, a person is sitting Shiva, it doesn't mean that they're sitting with a smile and you say, "Aren't you sad? This was a tragic loss." Well, I went to the Emunah shir and equanimity, and it's all the same to me, and I'm equilibrium, and my whole body is demonstrating Emunah. No, cry a tear. There's a loss, grieve, feel the pain, lean into it. But as you experience it, the highs aren't too high, the lows aren't too low, because it is all from Hashem. Kolatz Mosai Tomarna. You know those dramatic people that everything is like melodrama? Everything is drama. Drama, drama. Big highs and big lows and a big drama out of everything. That's not what the Torah is asking of us. The Torah is a no-drama lifestyle. Emunah, Kolatz Mosai Tomarna, is eliminate the drama from life. Eliminate the drama from life. That's what the Torah is asking us. Now, again, you'll notice we just talked about madregos, daragos. There are levels. So when we're working on emunah and we're adopting and absorbing and we're turning emunah from a one-time mitzvah check to a marriage, an ongoing awareness, consciousness, lifestyle, we're starting at the low level and we're building up. Some people are at MS and they struggle applying MS to the emunah. Some people have MS and the emunah of the heart, and it's hard to get the emunah into the limbs. This isn't a judgment or an expectation or a demand that from day one we're going to be there. But if we're working on this together, then we're working on it with an eye towards and an effort towards getting to that level and getting to that place where there's zero drama. Eliminate the drama. No drama. No drama. You might come home and say, "I had a really hard day at work. We've got this challenge. We became aware of this major setback and we've got to overcome it. We're going to figure it out." And yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's making me a little bit anxious. I'm a little bit worried about it. But there's no drama around it because it's all from Hashem. If He wants us to figure it out, we'll figure it out. If He doesn't, it's not meant to be. And so, yes, I have the natural attitudes towards it, but there's no drama. There's also no drama to burst through the door and top of the happiest mood ever. What happened? Unbelievable. And you know what happens? The people who live the drama, the high highs, they crash and burn. And the low lows, then they get manic. And that's, with no judgment, not a healthy way of being. We have names for those disorders, for people who have highs that are too high and lows that are too low, and we medicate and regulate and support and employ professional help in order to create a greater equanimity, equilibrium, to not have the highs be so high and the lows so low. Emunah should eliminate drama. Emunah in the Avarim, the Emunah in the limbs, should eliminate the drama. No drama. No drama. Yes, there can be sadness, and yes, there can be happiness. Yes, there is natural human emotion. I'm not talking about don't feel. We shouldn't transform ourselves into non-feeling, unfeeling robots. That's not Emunah. That's absurd. Emunah is, as we feel, it's without the drama. It's without the drama that surrounds so many people, who often the drama is to seek attention. The drama is a coping mechanism with a lot of fear, anxiety. No drama. Drama-free zone. Maybe that's the next Emunah sticker for the front door of the house. A drama-free zone. Drama-free kitchen, drama-free dining room table. This is a drama-free carpool, drama-free. Feel and express and communicate, but no drama. We didn't get to the answer. So why did it take to Kriyas Yamsuf Vayaminu B'Hashem? It was only in the merit of Emunah we got out of Mitzrayim. So only now, Vayaminu B'Hashem of Moshe Avdo. Now we can endorse, and now we can confidently state, Vayaminu B'Hashem. And they didn't before. We'll pick up with it next week. Have a great week. Besoros Tovos, Yeshuas, Venachamos. Please stay for all Sefer Tehillim.